is it a bad idea to try these terror suspects just blocks from where the World Trade Center once stood? Here to face off, Democratic strategist Peter Marajanian and Republican strategist Danny Vargas. Danny, let's start with you. 195 terror suspects have been tried in federal court successfully since 2001. Why is it a problem only now?
No, listen, I'll be honest with you. I think it is about time. I agree. It's about time that we bring these people to justice. They are monsters, but there's a better way. Al-Qaeda declared war in the United States in 2001. They killed 3,000 of our citizens, and it's time for us to bring them to justice. But the reality is that the military tribunals are something that is it's an appropriate and a safe venue for us to be able to use. President Obama signed in October the updated.
But Danny, why wasn't it appropriate then for these 195 other terror suspects who were tried in civilian courts? They were tried and convicted. If it's a problem that they should have, where were you guys when they were being tried and convicted in civilian courts? Why weren't you arguing back then with Richard Reed, the shoe bomber, Zacchaeus Massali? Oh no, we should be trying them in military tribunals.
Those were individual cases. This is Al-Qaeda we're talking about. Al-Qaeda was an international conspiracy that killed 3,000 of our citizens. If we go back to this law enforcement pre-9/11 mentality, then it imperils all of us.
Johnny Walker Lynn was a member of Al-Qaeda. He was at an Al-Qaeda training camp when we picked him up.
Not in an organized way to be able to kill 3,000 of our citizens. Look, we've got to be able to get back to a point where we can use the tools that we have at our disposal. President Obama signed in October the updated Military Tribunals Act. It's a viable, appropriate mechanism for us to be able to use. If we go into a civilian court and put Khalid Sheikh Mohammed in there, it's going to turn into a circus. He's going to taunt the families of the victims, and they don't need to go through that.
Peter Marajanian, your view?
My view is to your point, David, you've had other people tried and convicted. The blind sheik was tried and convicted. Mayor Bloomberg said we can handle this in New York. You know, again, the Republicans can't resist politicizing this. I don't see what benefit they gain from politicizing it, but they've chosen to do so. I'm a little surprised that Senator McCain has come out as strongly as he has on this. The fact of the matter is, these people will get the punishment they deserve, and the court system in this country will see to it.
But Peter, here's why they're politicizing it, because it's a lot easier to make the political argument that we're tough on terror because we're throwing out the Constitution, as opposed to the Democrats who say, oh no, we should give justice somehow in a U.S. courtroom to terrorists.
Yeah, David, sure. I knew the answer to that when I posed it. It was a hypothetical. But the fact of the matter is, I don't think a lot of the Americans will buy that. I mean, again, the Republican view always plays to a certain hardcore base that agrees with them, and that's why they are where they are. I mean, I think that at the end of the day, you're going to get these folks tried and convicted, and then we're going to move on, and they're going to close Gitmo in an appropriate manner, which is what the administration has also promised to do, and they won't have much to talk about after that, but they'll find something.
Look, it's not politicizing. There are some real serious concerns and risks here.
Like what?
Like what? Like the fact that when this individual goes in there, he starts talking about Fourth Amendment rights, like the fact that we can put in peril the fact that we might have to put on military tactics and intelligence sources and methods at full view for the world to see. These are national security issues that we need to be able to decide.
Yeah, the judge will make those decisions. That's not going to be that's going to be presented by the defense. If you honestly believe they're going to be forced to do that,
why even take that risk when we've got a viable option in the military tribunals? Why even go there? We have.
Well, why did we go there earlier? I mean, the point about Al-Qaeda. I mean, David made the point about you had one member of Al-Qaeda that was tried this way. Why all of a sudden now is there a call to make this a military tribunal? Again, it's to politicize it. It's to show that the administration is weak, and I don't think it's going to gain you much traction outside of the poor people that you guys play.
Hey, gentlemen, we're going to switch topics. Far less important, obviously, than what we are discussing, but it will be a buzz all next week. Palin Palooza. I feel strange transitioning, but somebody's got to do it. So, Danny, let me ask you already. Sarah Palin is on her Facebook page saying that the Associated Press and other media are erroneously reporting, even though the investigative team at the AP read her book. She won't say what they've gotten wrong, but she says that they've gotten it wrong. Former McCain Chief of Staff Mark Salter is responding to charges that Palin says she had to pay for her own vetting. So basically what we've got here is her book being leaked out, and already people are shooting it down. Is she a political powerhouse for the Republicans, though?
You know, she's right now in the process of selling her book. She's trying to make as much play out of it as possible. She's out there in the media doing what most people do.
To the party?
She's out there doing what most people do when they're trying to sell a book. She has a voice within the party. There's a segment within the Republican Party that think that she's a rock star, and there are others that are concerned about some of her experience levels and other things that she has. I think that I had concerns about her level of experience in international and national matters. I think her resigning a year and a half before ending her first time was an issue, but I think she has a very powerful voice within a very important segment of the party.
Hey, Peter, before I get you to respond, someone else thinks she has a powerful voice. Rush Limbaugh says that this book is the most substantive policy book that he's read, even though, again, the AP investigative team read the book and said that there's no policy. Here's Rush in his own words, so let me quote him. You can hear him.
I made a prediction to her when I talked to her yesterday. I said, you've got enough in here that people who get hold of this, like the AP or any of the state-controlled media, they're going to focus on what they think is soap opera aspects of your book, and they're going to ignore what is truly one of the most substantive policy books I've read.
Peter, what do you make of that comment, despite, again, the AP and others saying that there's nothing regarding policy in this book? It's more a story of her life.
Well, Tamara, as long as you don't ask me what newspapers I've read, I think I can answer that question. Look, if Rush doesn't list those policy prescriptions, because she doesn't have them in there, so I don't know what he's reading these days. I mean, it boggles my mind. But the fact of the matter is she is enamored with her own publicity and her own image. And she goes on Oprah, the very individual that's part of the media establishment that she decried all through her campaign, that she was going to go around. And now when she's out there selling her book, it's convenient to go on Oprah. She has about as much credibility as the Balloon Boy's father, as far as I'm concerned.
Danny, let me ask you this. If she's going to make these allegations against Team McCain, does this still put Senator McCain under a cloud? This was his selection, and now she's slamming them. I mean, shouldn't people perhaps wonder why he wanted her to be the next in line if he were to have won the election?
Well, you've got a lot of people on both sides that are going to say that she was a wonderful candidate. He chose her, and she brought the campaign back to life and rejuvenated, re-energized the campaign. You've got a lot of the folks who had some serious concerns about bringing her on board. And most people agree that the McCain campaign was not the best-run campaign in the history of political politics. You know, so I think, you know, she's selling books. She's doing what she's got to do in the media to be able to get those books sold. This is not anything unseen, but we'll go through the political theater and see how things play out.
Danny, if you can find me one segment that says that she added something to that campaign outside of energizing a base that's increasingly shrinking, I'm all ears.
McCain was down the polls, and she was able to bring him back up in the polls where he was actually leading Obama at the RNC convention.
Peter Marajanian and Danny Vargas, thank you both so much. We appreciate it. And Tamara, Danny's absolutely right. She's trying to sell books.